So let's chat through some goals for 2026, both in terms of reading and channel goals. So, in terms of reading, I never set a number goal. That's just not something I personally care to do. I don't really care the number of books I read in a year. But what I do want to do, my first goal, is to get caught up and stay caught up on Fairy Loot. So what I've come to find is every time I get close to catching up on my Fairy Loots, I'll then turn to some other things, some other reading goals, whether it's continuing series or whatever, and I'll let them pile up again. And so I have a nice pile of Fairy Loots that I'm very excited to get to, and I need to catch up. And then I'm hoping I can stay caught up by doing maybe a vlog every month where I read the previous month's Fairy Loots. Sometimes they come towards the end of the month. Typically, they come towards the end of the month. So really, it would be the previous month's picks. But anyway, I feel like it would be good to do a vlog once I get caught up, do a vlog every month to read those and stay caught up. But that's my first goal. Another goal is to catch up with or finish as many series as I possibly can. And again, these goals are not going to be super quantitative because it's not that serious, but I would like to focus on series again this year. I actually did a really good job last year. I just have so many series to catch up on that doing it over the course of last year just wasn't going to be enough time. With all of the other reading that I was doing, including Fairy Loots and other stuff, but I would like to continue focusing on getting as many series, again, either catching up or finishing as many series as I can this year. That is kind of a continued goal from last year. My third goal, I have quite a few standalones that I need to get to, and I have a plan for some of them to read during Winterween. See my January videos plan video to hear more about that. It's kind of a TBR video because I talk about my Winterween TBR, but also just in general, my plan for what videos I want to make in January. So see that one, but I'm going to catch up on some of those standalones in Winterween. I'm going to catch up on some of the romance standalones I have in February for a Valentine's Day vlog, but I do have some others that I need to catch up on. So when I look at my rotating shelf, that is my TBR shelf, that's basically how I have it divided up, is Fairy Loots, standalones, and then series I need to continue. Fairy Loots take up one section going all the way down, standalones take up one section going all the way down, and then series I want to continue take up two sections of this rotating bookshelf going all the way down. So I have a lot of series to catch up on, standalones, Fairy Loots. So that's basically kind of my focus for the first part of the year. And if you saw my bullet journal video, which was a recent one I posted in December, you'll see a lot of the ones where, I showed kind of the duologies. One spread was, the duologies I would like to read this year, the trilogies, the series, the longer series I want to focus on this year. That stuff might come later on in the year because I'm really hoping to kind of catch up on Fairy Loots and those standalones and some of the series as part of my first months of reading in the year, and then get to some of those series because I really would like to get the rest of those under control first before I start adding new series to the mix. Now, I don't necessarily feel like I have to get caught up on all of the series to be able to start new series, but I would like to make a really solid dent on those, catch up on Fairy Loots, and read my standalones before I really start to focus on starting any new series. Fourth goal is to, speaking of the journal, is to continue looking at the beginning of this journal and the spreads that I had, talking about which duologies I'd like to prioritize, which trilogies, which longer series, which series I want to start, some anticipated series I want to continue, nonfiction books I would like to read. One goal is just to keep going back to those, again, particularly after I catch up, and then kind of have that be a guiding force behind the books I pick up for that next part of the year when I can start more series or feel like I can start more series. So that's the fourth goal. The fifth goal in terms of reading is to better balance nonfictions as well. I did a little bit better last year. I feel like I can have good momentum going into this year to add more nonfictions in there. Again, that had historically been an important part of my reading, and I've just been in such a fiction space, and especially once you get in, you find authors you like and then they come out with books every year, or you find series you like and that takes a while to get through. Anyway, it's easy to kind of get sucked in and then not go back to reading nonfiction. So I'd like to better balance nonfiction. So those are my reading goals. So the first vlogs that you'll see on my channel this year for a good handful of months is going to be me going through those fairy loots, going through those standalones, and catching up on series and trying to find, and I would love suggestions, trying to find interesting ways to make those vlogs happen. So I'll talk about that in just a minute. But in terms of channel goals, I would like to post at least one video per week, and hopefully that can happen more realistically now that I am still not employed. And I've been able to catch up some on video work since I haven't been working, but it's kind of been catching up rather than, and I still have some catching up to do rather than trying to, anyway. But I would like to post at least one video a week. If I can get more, that would be great. I'd like to focus on Instagram and make sure that I'm posting on Instagram at least 4 times a week and trying to be consistent about that. If I can do daily and make that work, great, and try to batch content, then great. I'd like to try to make some more meaningful interactions with other small creators across YouTube and Instagram is a third goal. Again, not quantitative, but I'd like to kind of have that be a focus. And the fourth goal, to continue participating in some community things. So I need to catch up on the Discord for TBR Trek, but I am hoping to catch up on the Discord for TBR Trek and be a part of that community from Chem's TBR game, and participating in things like Winterween and just engaging in the community. And then my fifth goal, and this is where I'll talk about some of the video ideas I have. So find creative video ideas to try to have different ways for community participation. So this is one way that I've seen people kind of build their audience, is to draw in that participation. And I would love some ideas for how to do that. So in terms of how, so far some of my ideas for getting caught up, I have a couple of video ideas. So one, just some standalone vlogs, for example, with Winterween or with catching up on some romances around Valentine's. So those can be kind of one-off vlogs, right? And then I have some other ideas for ideas that I can go back to. So one of those is my sprint race vlog. So I've done one of these before. I'm planning on doing another one towards the end of January. And this is where I don't necessarily play my TBR game at the beginning of the month in a TBR video, but I kind of make it a vlog instead and go through my game a little bit quicker than I would for a TBR video, so that I can kind of make it happen within a decent time frame. But play my board game and play my TBR, my Formula One inspired TBR game as the game, roll along or read as I go, and kind of roll and read as I go. So, have the first roll, see what prompt that gets me, read that book, and then roll again, get another prompt, see what book that gets me, and finish that book, make the next roll, and just continue on until I actually finish the game and get to the checkered flag. So I would love to incorporate sprint race vlogs as kind of a regular thing, and I, at least for now, that could potentially replace TBR videos. I don't know. I don't know if I maybe want to have that replace TBR videos, just so that I can kind of do a lot of these different ideas without being pinned down to one specific TBR for the whole month, if that makes sense. So another idea for a vlog, a kind of series of vlogs that I can do is to, so again, I have this rotating bookshelf, and I can, at least for the shelves that I want to be in play at that particular time. So I might want to focus on Fairy Loots and standalones and take all of the shelves that have the Fairy Loots and the standalones on them, number those shelves 1 to 10. There are 5 shelves on each kind of line in this bookshelf, and have a number generator or a spinner wheel determine which shelf number I'm going to read for that vlog. So if I roll an 8 or, spin for an 8, then I read all of the books that are on the 8th shelf that's in play for that video. You know what I mean? So those are a couple of ideas that I have to kind of catch up on some of my Fairy Loots and standalones. And then, maybe a spinner wheel I have all the series that I want to continue / finish that are on my physical TBR on this shelf, and I put those on a spinner wheel and determine which series I'm going to continue that way. Maybe that's something that can happen, to rotate through those types of videos until I get caught up. And then maybe I can find a way to change things up after that. I don't know. I'm needing some ideas. I'm needing to find some good ways to do this that will draw people in. And so let me know what you think. But those are the goals that I have, both in terms of my reading and the channel goals. So again, I don't have specific quantitative goals other than posting once a week and posting on Instagram 4 times a week. But just to give you somewhat of an idea of some of the ideas I have on how to approach, getting caught up on things in terms of my physical TBR and how I want to approach that. But again, I would love some ideas for some vlogs that would draw you in and that you would want to click on. So let me know if you have any ideas. But thank you so much for listening to this really rambly video. And I will leave said Instagram that I was referring to down below. I will also leave my Pango store. I just posted a couple of books on Pango, and I would like to do this a lot more and, post the books that I don't want anymore on my Pango and find cheap books elsewhere, whether it's from Goodwill or library sales, and find books that I know people will want and, bring those home relatively cheaply and then put them on my Pango for a good price. You know what I mean? I would love to start doing that more, just as a way to kind of at least bring in a little something to help while I'm unemployed. And so, because that's at least something I can control. So if you're interested in exploring my Pango, I will link that down below as well as more information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.